up, guys? This is Cooking with Goose. Obviously, as you've seen in the intro, I've got Matthew, my oldest boy, with me. And what are we making today? What is that? Deer? Oh, so we're gonna make deer burgers? No. What are we making?
Jerky.
Oh, we're making some jerky. What else? We'll speak up so they can hear you.
Steaks.
All right. So, what did we do before we started cooking?
Wash our hands.
And you used poop soap, right? Okay. So we washed our hands with poop soap, right? And now we got to clean our deer up. So I've already rinsed it a little bit. There's always bring it in close so you can see the deer. A lot of times, whenever you harvest an animal, especially deer, you're going to end up with a little bit of the fur, and obviously some of this trash all around it. This has been frozen for a while, so I'm going to work on cleaning this up. I've already rinsed it as best I could. Obviously, we'll get the rest of this fur off. You can see that. Keep a rag handy because if it's still partially frozen, which I like to do it whenever it's partially frozen, it's still going to bleed and it's still going to melt. So that being said, all you really need to do is I like to use two different knives, a smaller one for smaller spaces obviously, and then the big one to cut my chunks off and whatnot. So you're going to want to try and find a little hole that you can kind of get your fingers in, peel it open, and just try and kind of separate it from the main meat. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you more direct contact with the meat whenever you go to put your marinade on or whatever you're going to be seasoning with for your jerky and for your steaks. So, bad case of the giggles?
It's jumping. Move.
He is so silly. So, anyway, I've already kind of started processing this one out and getting some of the stuff off of it. And we're going to do more deer videos in the future. So, I'm going to get this, and it's actually kind of early today, but jerky takes a good long while to do, and so that's going to be the fun part, is the time. You're going to need, for the deer alone, or for the jerky alone, you're going to need probably around 4 to 5 hours worth of prep, unless you want to marinate overnight, and then you'll obviously want longer so that you can clean it up, marinate it down, and get it ready to go into the stove, which is what we're going to use it, because not everybody has dehydrator, and they're kind of expensive, so if you have a decent stove that they can do it, go for it.
You want me to stop it while you do this?
Yeah. All right, so while Matthew's filming for me, just use the tip of your knife for a lot of this, and just kind of work it through. Okay, just real easy. Find it nice and close to the meat, like I said, and just use your knife and kind of pull back as you're cutting, and it'll actually peel off real kind of easy. Now, a lot of times you'll actually be getting, as it thaws, you'll get to spots where you can actually just use your finger and peel that stuff straight off. And then obviously always have a garbage bowl or a bag that you can put everything in. So always keep a garbage bowl, especially whenever you're doing this, that way so you can get chunks like this and just toss them in. Okay, so I've already got my steaks cut up. I just cut them kind of a little bit thin, but whatever. Makes it a lot easier if it's still partially frozen whenever you do it. I've also got my jerky meat cut, and so now we're just gonna throw in some marinade. marinate how you like. This is just something I like to do. Marinate it how you like. So, a little bit of Worcestershire. And again, I don't know how to measure anything, so I just go by kind of feel. A little bit of liquid smoke. This goes a little bit, goes a really long way. What? Smells good. Yeah. Here. Here, come around the side. Get Matthew in here to help out. Dump it all over there. Shake it up and down. There you go. Alright, good deal. Gonna knock the rest of that down in there and then we'll get some more in here. That was almost empty anyway.
I'm taking these scissors because I'm using them sometimes.
Just this kid. Why do kids have to be daredevils and rock back on things like that? So oh, there we go. We got some garlic salt in there. Or garlic powder. So I'm gonna let this sit for a few hours and just kind of soak this up real nice, and hopefully whenever I do go to as our cat attacks Chunk, the show dog. Chunk. Mad. Anyway. Alright. So we'll leave that to sit and soak for a little bit, and then I'll show you guys the trays. Real easy. All you need is like a baking rack and then a cookie sheet, and then we'll talk about the oven here in a bit. I'm going to work on these steaks and figuring out what I'm going to put on these, because I really haven't decided yet as far as what I'm going to do with them. But I know how I'm going to cook them, but that's it. So yeah, with that being said, we'll be right back with more of the jerky side of it, as well as I'm going to work on marinating these steaks, and I'll tell you what I did with these here in a little while. Alright, so we're going to preheat our oven to 175. It's going to take about 3 hours to cook. Make sure you have some of these baking racks. These actually fold out, so you can actually set them up higher or whatever if need be, and your cookie sheet, and that's really about it. So all you need to do is take your pieces, try and keep the baking rack over your thing, over your cookie sheet. Alright, take your pieces. I like to mix them at the same time, because I mean you get some more of that juice on there and whatnot, more flavor. Alright, just kind of stack them on there. You don't need to leave a ton of space, because it's obviously going to shrink down, so you can actually almost make them touch. And then if your oven has the ability, okay, at about 2 hours and 30 minutes, turn on the convection function, or the speed bake. On mine it's speed bake, and that'll help dry it, get it a little bit drier, so that it'll keep a little longer. Some of this stuff is pretty fatty, but that's not a big deal. To me, it kind of keeps some of the flavor and whatnot like that. And then Yeah, I'd love to be able to have Matthew do this, but I just don't want him sticking his fingers in deer blood. So, and Chunk and Bella are fighting over there. Surprised they're not right up my butt trying to get some of this deer. So, with that being said, we'll throw this in as soon as I get this done for about 3 hours, and we'll show you what it looks like after it's done. All right, so we are at 3 hours in, and there is our jerky. What do you think, Matthew?
Yeah.
Yeah? Want to try a piece?
Yeah.
It's hot. Here. A little tough. There you go. How is it? Thumbs up? All right. All right, we'll be doing the steaks next, huh? Okay, so real quick, potatoes in the or baked potatoes in the air fryer. Super simple. Rub them down with butter, a little bit of salt. Throw them in. 400 for 40 minutes. That's it. Super easy. Right, that's what it should look about like whenever you put them in your air fryer. Just rub them down with a stick of butter, sprinkle some salt on them, put them in the air fryer, and forget about them until the dinger goes off. If you have a air fryer like mine, it only goes for 30 minutes. Run it for the 30, and then do it for another 10 minutes after that. And you'll see why I will never do baked potatoes any other way than that. So, butter your griddle down. Get your steaks ready to go. Make sure it's good and hot. So 350. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see what's going on. Anyway, so once you're good and hot, you're going to want to cook your steaks to a temperature of between 130 and 140 degrees. That's what everything I've ever found calls for. So obviously, meat thermometer. Take your steak. Give it a toss and its juices down there real quick. Real simple. Give it a toss. Take it. Put it on. Same with the next however many you've got. Show wife's camera shy, otherwise I would show what she just did to herself. As one of the dogs is licking the beater from the cake. So, that's on the floor now. Now I can hear it. So, few minutes on each side. Get yourself up to get a good sear kind of going. And that's it. One thing, and I will always encourage, do not pierce your steaks. So whenever you go to flip them with tongs or a spatula or something. Don't actually pierce into it because that's going to let all of that inside juice out. Also make sure you pay attention because, like right there, that's one of those pieces of fur that I couldn't get. So we're going to cook these up, and then as soon as they're done, I'll give you the review. Okay, I'm breaking one of my own cardinal rules on cooking, and that's using metal tongs on Teflon, but I don't have anything else, so that works because the Tupperware ones we have are not strong enough to hold these. So last time I did it, I almost dropped that steak down. So there's show wife's over here dropping cake all over herself. Now she's rubbed off on me, and I'm trying to drop the steaks on the floor, and I'm sure Bella would love it. She's sitting there like, Dad, please, I got cake, now give me some steak. They rhyme. So yeah, deer steaks are on their way of cooking pretty good, so I'm gonna let those sit for a little bit, and I'll be right back. All right, something else I like to do, I like to throw a little butter on top, maybe throw a little salt and pepper across the top of them before I flip them again. I've already flipped these once. I'm letting them sit and just kind of enjoy the heat and get that all built up. I did throw a little bit of Worcestershire down just to give it a little bit more flavor, but I mean really you don't have to. And then I'm going to let these sit for a little bit, and then I'll flip them with the butter still on them, and hopefully that'll help them develop a little bit more of a depth of flavor. So, while show wife's screwing with me from behind the camera, and I can't throw a knife at her. Obviously, tomorrow is the big AFC Championship. You can see who we're rooting for, right, Matthew? Who's gonna win?
Chiefs.
All right. So our steaks are done. Taters got a little bit longer to go. You might be wondering why I'm cutting them in slivers. Well, for one, I want you to see this. Just absolutely perfect. These were about 137 to 143 depending on the steak. But nice, little bit of pink, still warm in the center. Matthew, you want to try a bite?
Yeah.
All right, here. See what his. Go for it. Now,
Yeah.
there's this thing in several places. Some places call them terrible taters. Some places call them a barbecue tater. I don't know. I've heard them called all kinds of different names. And we're going to try our own version today, or tonight, with deer instead of like brisket or ground beef or anything. So I went ahead and I diced up some green onion. We'll throw some sour cream, some, whatever fixings you like on your baked potato, and then throw the meat across the top. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. If you don't want your meat on there, stick it off to the side and leave it as a full steak. So, what? You just want yours off to the side?
Mine
So I typically like to cut, whenever I do steaks, I typically do cut them kind of like this, just because it's a little bit easier with having smaller kids to be able to cut it up and so they can handle it, because obviously they're not going to be able to cut the steak the way we do. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll knock you out.
So yeah, I mean, that's the best part about it is cooking in general can be as boring or as fun as you want it to be. I actually didn't have a recipe for this. I just kind of went off the top of my head. What do I want to do? What do I want, kind of flavor-wise? And I'm up here. Hi, there we are. My cameraman's a little bit slow today. But anyway, so the great part about cooking is the mere fact that you can do really whatever you want. I didn't have a recipe going into this. I didn't, the only thing I really knew is I wanted to do steak or deer and potatoes. From there, I start rummaging, and you can ask show wife, and you can ask the kids. I start rummaging, and I start throwing stuff together like a mad scientist, and it somehow ends up working out. Figure out what flavors tend to kind of cater to your palate, whether it's more spicy, whether it's more savory, whether it's sweet, salty. And you know what? I'm gonna do something here after I cut this last little bit up. What are you giggling about, Doofus? As Matthew's got a bad case of the giggles. Chunk, get down.
Jump!
Well, since I haven't introduced all of the fur kids, why don't we do that?
No, let's not. Where's Chunk?
Just Chunk?
What?
Chunk,
Zoe,
sit.
that's over
And
here.
Zoe and Annie
Zoe.
and Bella.
There's Annie. Chunk, get back. Or Zoe got that piece. Annie.
Zoe.
Annie. Ow. And then where's Bella? Bella, sit. Sit. No. Oh, you're ready?
Pretty.
All right. So whenever I say show dogs, that's them. And we've got. Oh, I've got one more piece.
You're getting fired as a cameraman.
Yeah, you're fired. So yeah, anytime you're cooking, have fun with it. Don't take it so seriously that you're losing your mind like Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen, or whatever.
Zoe.
Have fun with it. Enjoy it. Put love into it. And you know, yeah, you're gonna have some fails. You're gonna have some stuff where it just doesn't work. Or you're gonna have days like Show Life is having a day where everything ends up on the floor or on you.
I resigned from this position.
So, you know,
Oh, John!
Yeah.
and hopefully eventually this channel will get monetized and we'll be able to get some better equipment that doesn't get interfered with by the dog. So, that being said, guys, I'm gonna post. I'll throw a couple of pictures of the finished product up right after this. If you have questions, comments, something you want us to try out, leave it in the comments down below. Make sure you like it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because we'll definitely have some more cooking to do a little later right here on Cooking with Goose. Thanks a lot.